Are you sure you want to cut this?
I may
This
put that at the end now. It gets like good bloopers there. All right. Let's see if I can get my wits about me and do your little intro and we'll keep going. Oh yeah. Nice.
I gotta get super AERO. Like, I'm ready, dude. I'm ready.
Okay. Yeah, keep them on. Keep them on. You can take them off for the start. Today on the show with me, I have my friend who was the USA Triathlon Amateur National Champion 2016. He's also gone on to be this guy. He's also gone on to be the age group world champion in 2018. He has his PhD in exercise science, and as far as I'm aware, he is the foremost expert on cinnamon rolls. Welcome to the podcast today. You're Todd Buckingham.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jesse. Yeah, I think that last one, that's probably the most important. The
Well,
cinnamon
I mean, I
roll
figured it was pretty accurate. So how have you been? You're telling me you just were getting done with the run today. Is that?
Yeah, I went for a run. I had a bike and a little bit of core work earlier, but I wanted to get outside while I could because the next few days is supposed to be bitterly cold here in Michigan. So I may be stuck on the treadmill, unfortunately. So yeah, this today was actually like my first kind of hard bike workout that I've had on the year. I kind of took 2 weeks of leisure at the beginning of the year. Just to kind of reset and kind of not have really any structured training. And so today I did like 4 by 5 minutes at lactate threshold and I was dying. it was like 10 or 15 watts lower than like what I am normally at. And I was just like, oh, this is brutal.
Right. Well, which in the grand scheme of things, 10 to 15 watts isn't that much.
Yeah.
You didn't lose that much fitness, but it
Right.
is a little like on the mental side,
Yeah.
a little disappointing. Yeah, I know about that. For listeners that don't know, I actually shattered my collarbone this last June racing, so I didn't get to race with Todd at nationals this last year. And coming back from that, it's like take 2-3 months off. It's nothing like just taking a couple of weeks off.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine.
You're just sad, and you're like, oh, what am I doing? So I kind of wanted to get a little bit of history on you.
Yeah.
Clearly, I've known you for a few years now through, we'll say, mutual friends. I kind of want to know a little bit about growing up. Like, what kind of sports did you play? Did you play sports, or were you just like bookish?
Yes, I played sports, but I was also bookish, I guess, a nerd. um, Yeah, so growing up, I played baseball, basketball, and soccer in high school. I played baseball in college, and I didn't really get into running until after I graduated. I never really got the point of running just to run. You know, if I'm
Right.
chasing the ball or something like that, sure, like I'll go chase the ball all day. But yeah, my dad's a big runner. He's run over 50 marathons and ultras. My mom runs halves. And, you know, growing up, they always wanted my brother and I to run with them. And we were just like, no, that's silly. Like, why would you just go
Why
run?
would you just go run?
Yeah. And so when I finished playing baseball, I was like, man, I need something to do. And so my mom actually signed us up for the Warrior Dash. It's like for people who don't know, it's a 5K kind of mud run obstacle course type thing. And I was like, well, I should probably be able to run a 5K alone before I try to do it through the mud and obstacles. And so that's really when I started running, was for the Warrior Dash. And that was, gosh, what, 2011, I think, is when I graduated. Yeah, 2011. So here we are,
So
8 years later.
Just right after college.
Yeah. And so now when when I want to go for a run, if I'm at my parents and I'm like, hey, you know, does anybody want to go for a run with me? It's like, oh wait, you know, like dad can't run with me, mom can't run with me. Like I'm just too fast now. And so instead though, it's really cool because like mom will ride her rollerblades next to me, or dad
Yeah.
will ride his bike. So it's really cool, like that they still go out and do that with me. So even though we can't run together, we still run together.
Yeah, I mean, I like and whenever I don't know if I met your mom, but I know anytime I see your dad at races, always seems very supportive. So that's cool to hear they still go out with you.
Yeah, it's really amazing. They come to just about every race that I do.
Hmm.
I was even able to drag them to Australia, kicking and screaming. I might add. They did not enjoy that one bit. No, yeah, my dad calls himself the bag man. He's my bag man. He's not a Sherpa.
Hmm.
He's my bag man. So he literally like carries my bag everywhere around the airport, around the race course, and he's out on the race on the course giving me splits and things like that. And
Hmm.
it's really cool that he does that still here, and I'm going to be 30 in 2 days, and they're still like following me around like they did back when I played baseball, basketball, and soccer in high school. And I mean, that's one thing that they never did, was like miss a game for my brother or I. I mean, we both played 3 sports in high school, and I can probably count on them on one hand the number of times that they actually missed an event of ours. And
Hmm.
it's awesome to have that support. And honestly, like, I probably wouldn't still be doing sports, I guess triathlon, if it weren't for them. So
Right. Right. I guess I'll take a moment and say happy early birthday.
thank you. And you too. Well done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a couple days ago.
Yeah.
It seems like all of us, even this is another mutual friend of ours. For those listening to us or watching us, Kevin, hers is like the 9th or whatever. So it seems like all the triathlon guys are
Yeah,
get born in January.
I hear that the best endurance athletes are born in January. So
Yeah.
actually, there was a study done that showed people who are born in January tend to have faster marathon times,
Oh yeah.
because a lot of like Kenyan and Ethiopian guys and girls have January birthdays, but that might be because they're not quite sure when, and so they just kind of make up a January.
Oh, okay.
So,
It's the
but
first one on the list.
yeah, yeah. But I like to think that it's just because we're born in January, therefore we are better endurance athletes. So I'm gonna stick with it.
Just as like a magical gift given to us.
Exactly. Yeah. Makes it tough being born in January in the cold winter months, and so it's
See, I always try to embrace it and just say, "Oh, I love the cold."
yeah,
Like,
right. Yeah, how's that work for you? Let me know when it's like 7 there on Wednesday.
yeah, I just bundle up. It's fine.
uh,
So okay, so I didn't know it's kind of interesting. Like I didn't know that you didn't start running till after college. You always wear your like Michigan State kit, or at least when we first started racing
yeah.
together, I was seeing Michigan State kit. So I thought you raced club in college.
Mm.
So it makes me even more curious. Like 2011 to 2016. I mean, it's not that long of a time to go from just beginning to run to being amateur national champion. Like, how do you, in your own mind, what do you attribute that rise to? Is it just personal perseverance, or like, what kind of ingredients are there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And honestly, like 2011, 12, 13, I don't think I raced my first club nationals. So I did my undergrad at Saginaw Valley. I graduated 2011. Then I went
Mm,
to Central for a couple years. I was on the triathlon team, and that's really when I first started. And I was on the triathlon team, but I didn't compete at all. And once I got to Michigan State in 2013 was the first time that I actually competed at club nationals
mm,
and collegiate club nationals. And um, yeah, I did that a couple years, and then I decided to do age group nationals. My first one was 2015,
mm-hmm,
and that was in Milwaukee, and I love that course, and it was a great place to have nationals. And
mm-hmm,
um, I didn't really have any expectations going in. It was my first age group nationals. I had just started working with Barb, my coach, and it had only been a few months that we were working together. And I just ran like a marathon back in May.
mm-hmm.
Because before I really got into triathlon, like I was a big marathon guy. Like running marathons was kind of my thing, which is weird because, I didn't like running growing up.
Right.
And I
Right.
did my first marathon in 2013. And then that year, 2015, I ran a 2:28 at Bayshore Marathon. And so it was really just kind of switching gears from marathon to triathlon.
Right.
And so, yeah, I just kind of, I don't know, had fun with it. And
Right.
I ended up finishing 8th in overall and 5th in my age group, which was, it was like, man, that 25-29 age group is really ultra competitive.
Yep.
And then, yeah, the next year I was like, well, I should probably try to do a little better, and worked out all right.
So I would say so. Top of the podium. For those interested, so Barb is Barb Lindquist. She's a former U.S. pro, first woman in the U.S. to be ranked number 1 in the world, if I'm not mistaken. Barb actually, Todd, I don't know that you know this, but Barb actually allows me to post some of her swim workouts on the Solpre website. So anybody that actually wants to get their butt kicked, with a little sample of that from Barb, you can go to the Solpre blog. I'll have a link in the description on YouTube here later. You can pick that up. So, as you know, this is the Smart Athlete podcast, and part of the reason I wanted to have you on was to talk about something you were working on. I think it was 2017 Nationals in Omaha, correct? You were flagging everybody down that had a Garmin watch, particular kind of Garmin watch. You were looking at everybody, and it seemed like you were trying to making new friends with everybody, or hustling. I'm not sure what you were selling, but can you tell me a little bit about what was going on there?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I have my PhD in exercise science. I just graduated from Michigan State back in August, and my dissertation actually was based on triathletes. It was like performance factors in triathletes. And so one of those factors was looking at the Garmin watch and seeing if there were any correlations between the variables that it measures in each of the 3 disciplines, and then seeing if those related to any faster performances in the swim, bike, or run. And so we wanted to look at one variable in each of the 3 disciplines, and then see if that variable, whether it was like running cadence or stride length or vertical oscillation, whatever it was, what was the most important factor for having a faster finish time in the swim, bike, and run. And so, yeah, like you said, I was making a lot of friends, handing out flyers, and getting people to share their data with me, which is really cool because I got 250, 300 people who sent in their watch data, and was able to look at that, and yeah, and I was able to finish my dissertation, which was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I always find like anytime you go to a race, even a super competitive race like nationals, like everybody's cheering everybody else on, everybody's happy. Yeah. Just to have everybody there, like the atmosphere is always great. So, I think to me, it's not necessarily surprising that everybody sent the data into you, but it is necessarily surprising that they had the right watch that you needed with the particular data.
Yeah.
So I don't think I missed this, but did you find anything significant? Was there any statistically significant results that you came up with?
Yeah, there were a lot. So, things for the swim, having a lower SWOLF score, that's that swimming golf. It's kind of a measure of efficiency, Garmin says. It had never really tested if like having a lower score actually led to faster times, and we did find that it did. Cycling.
Pause just for a second. So with the SWOLF score, do you know how that's calculated? Is it like is it roughly based on like arm cadence or like distance per stroke, or like do you know how they calculate that?
Yep. So it's the time that it takes to swim 25 meters in open water plus the number of strokes that it takes. So if it takes you 25 seconds and you take 25 strokes, your SWOLF score would be 50.
Okay.
So having a lower score, and there is that little caveat that, yeah, obviously a lower SWOLF score is going to be faster because a lower SWOLF score means that you
It
took
took less time.
time. Yeah. So
Right.
that is one of the limitations with that and looking at that for a correlation. But it did show that lower SWOLF scores typically led to faster.
Do you know if there's a breakdown in that data where you can see the difference between like cadence and because they're combining the two to make that score? Do they have the breakdown?
Not really. You could go and look at the number of strokes that it took them and then the time that it took them.
Okay.
But it doesn't. The SWOLF score itself doesn't get broken down.
Okay.
You can't really look at it like that.
Okay.
For the bike, cycling cadence had just a moderate relationship. So the higher your cadence, the faster your time. But that one was the weakest correlation that we found between the three: swim, bike, run. And then in the run, running stride length was actually the most important variable in determining running time, not running cadence, which a lot of athletes are told, like, focus on your cadence, like hit that 180 steps per minute. But we found that the longer your stride length, the faster your time, more so than the faster your cadence, the faster your time. So the correlation between running stride length and running time was like 0.9, above 0.9. And the running cadence was, I think, only above 0.7, between 0.7 and 0.8. So yeah, it was interesting to see because, athletes are told focus on your cadence, but I would want to tell them, like, focus on your stride length. And there is a caveat with that too. Like, you don't want people overstriding because then it's lead to injury, but more so running is more an extension out the back instead of being out front. And I think that's where a lot of people try to focus on increasing their stride length as they try to reach further out in front of them. But what they should be doing is pushing harder further in the back. So yeah, the stride length, that was really interesting. It wasn't something that I expected. And it was really cool because now we can tell people, like, yeah, maybe that 180 steps per minute isn't, the best thing to do. And honestly, like, if you think about it, if you go out and you run at a 9-minute pace, which is pretty easy, and you try to run at 180 steps a minute, it's going to be really hard because you're basically just going to be like bouncing up and down.
Right.
So I know when I do my easy runs at like 7:30 or 8-minute pace, I'm taking maybe 160, 165 steps a minute. And then, as the pace increases, because your running velocity is a product of steps and frequency and distance, right? Right. So your frequency increases, you're going to go faster. Your distance increases, you're going to go faster. So like during nationals, I'll be close to 200 steps a minute. But on my easy runs, it's 160. So I don't think that people should really focus on that 180 steps a minute as much as has been dispensed and kind of like they focus on.
Right. I kind of see you say 180. I think I take it from Barbara as 90 since you're counting one leg.
Right. Yeah.
I kind of see it as like a training tool almost to try to prevent that overstriding, because the faster you go, the harder it is to overstride. You have a greater tendency to have your foot land under you, so your mechanics improve.
Yeah, you really want your foot to land under your center of gravity instead of out front. I don't know if you can really land with it behind your center of gravity. That would be you'd be like running.
Is that I mean, it's that controlled fall. I think it would get out of control at some point in time.